Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. In our first story, OP's brother parked his car without letting anyone know, so the OP towed him without letting anyone know. Towed my cousin's car out of my driveway. So basically, my cousin parked his car in my driveway and he's blocking my work truck. He parked on my driveway because he didn't have a residential parking permit to park on my street. However, he parked directly behind me instead of the other side when we have a 4-car driveway. He left from the local airport to avoid paying for parking. The worst part is that he took his keys with him on his trip. Moreover, he didn't ask for permission or even give a heads up. I literally woke up and saw him blocking my driveway, and I texted him to move his car. Then he told me he's in Texas and won't be back for a week. My cousin and I never established a real relationship. Our relationship's just superficial. Ultimately, I called my PD and had his crap towed. I don't intend on paying for this either. I've not notified my cousin about his car being towed. He'll find out this Thursday. And our second story. Apparently, I stole a customer's phone today. A little background info to my story. I work at a gas station as a customer service rep. My gas station is in a relatively nice suburb, but it's on the border to the sketchy part of town, so we get some really interesting characters sometimes. My shift today was a normal day like any other. I was scheduled to work 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Business was pretty slow, so I was just chilling at the register. Around 12 o'clock, a really scraggly-looking guy comes in, probably around 40 years old and in desperate need of a shave. He has on a ripped-up hoodie and a pair of headphones wrapped around his neck. Nothing strange about that. We get weird people all the time. I greet him like I do all customers. "Hi, how you doing?" He replies in an annoyed tone, "Crappy." He's visibly upset and clearly doesn't want to talk. Fine by me. I ring him up and he proceeds to throw his money down at the counter and walk out. Again, we get weird people, so I'm not really fazed by this. Just wish this is where it ended with him. At around 2 o'clock, business has picked up a bit, so I'm busy at the register with a line of people. All of a sudden, the same guy as before walks up to me in front of the line. He talks half mumbled, so it's hard to understand what he says. He's still upset, and if anything, it's worse than before. "I left my phone here, and I'd really like it back. I left it right here at the register, and I need it, so I'd like it if you would give it back to me." Normally, this wouldn't be a problem. People leave stuff at the register all the time. Except this guy didn't leave anything. No phone, nothing. I tell him, "Sorry, there wasn't a phone left here at the register. I would give it to you if I have it, but I don't." He doesn't accept my answer and still demands that we return his phone. Luckily, my manager was at the register next to me and she steps in. "Sir, I'm sorry, but I've been here since 5 a.m. and no one has turned in a phone all day. If you left it at the register, we would have it, and we don't have any lost phones. If you left it out on the floor, then maybe someone else has it and didn't return it. Either way, we don't have your phone." He repeats that he just wants his phone back and angrily demands that we return it, not accepting that we don't have his phone. Eventually, still upset, he walks out. Again, I wish this was the end of it, but it wasn't. Our gas station has glass windows lining the front of the store. The man walks outside, lights up a cigarette, and proceeds to stare at us through the windows. We just shrug it off and continue our day like normal. Half an hour passes and this man is still there staring at us from outside. Around 3 o'clock, my manager's shift ends, so another manager comes in. We'll call the first shift manager Manager 1 and the second shift manager Manager 2. Manager 1 proceeds to tell Manager 2, who just came in, about the guy complaining about his phone. Somehow this man's still outside, still staring at us. Manager 1 then gathers her things and leaves. As she's leaving, she's confronted by the man outside. I watch from behind my counter as it appears that their conversation begins to get heated. Manager 2 then steps outside to see if he can help resolve the problem. About a minute after that, all three come back inside with Manager 1 saying something about calling the police. The situation is relatively calm, with the man still angry, saying that he wants to talk to the police. Manager 2 proceeds to call the police while Manager 1 pulls me into the back office to tell me what they were talking about outside. She also just wanted me out of the sight of the man as he was clearly angry at me. She explains to me that she walked outside and the man told her that he has no problems with her. He told her something like, "Yeah, we're cool, so if you could just get my phone from that guy, I'd appreciate it." She got upset that he was accusing me because she knew that I didn't do anything. We wait for the police to show up and keep an eye on the man, who's now talking and mumbling to himself. Eventually, he goes outside to wait for the police. 2 squad cars finally pull into our parking lot and 2 officers get out of them. The man then approaches the cops outside and tells them his story, basically accusing me of stealing his phone. The cops then come inside and Manager 1 tells them our side, showing them our empty lost and found and explaining that we don't have the phone. The cops and the 2 managers then agree to look at the surveillance camera footage just to confirm that I didn't take anything. I know I don't have the phone, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Also, at this point, Manager 1's shift has been over for more than an hour, but she agrees to stick around just to help sort through all this. I thank profusely because she's been so helpful throughout this ordeal. Their search comes up empty-handed with no proof of this man leaving his phone anywhere in our store. The cops then tell the man that we don't have his phone, so we thank him and they leave. Manager 1 also finally leaves after me thanking her again for helping me through this. Seriously, she's awesome. If only the man would get that we don't have his phone. Nope. The man goes back outside to have another smoke, still staring at us the entire time, and then comes back in. He takes his time walking around the store and eventually gets in line with a fountain drink. I, not wanting to deal with him anymore, tell him to go to the open register, and another employee, he refuses and says he wants to stay in my line. I then ring him up for his drink while he keeps mumbling stuff to me. Something about being good at poker because I lied to the police and that he knows who I am and that I'm not safe. I'm a 6'2", 290-pound dude, so I'm not exactly intimidated by him. He scolds me some more and eventually walks back outside to his spot. He then stares at me through the window for about another 15 minutes. Manager 2 decides that if the man isn't gone in another half an hour, he's calling the cops to get him for trespassing. 15 minutes later, at around 4:30, he finally leaves. My shift ended at 5, so I was a little uneasy leaving so close when the man left. I had no idea whether he was actually still on the property or not. Thankfully, I got to my car safely and got home just fine. The second he tried to intimidate you, he should have been asked to leave the property. There's no excuse for allowing some creep to stare at your employee for hours. And our next story. My sister and her husband want my house. For some pretext about the situation, the reason I didn't know about their kids is because me and my sister have literally not spoken in 7 years. Growing up, we couldn't stand each other, and the moment she moved out, all contact broke off, and when I moved out as well a year later, I also broke contact with my parents, but that's a story for another day. Well, to my surprise, a week ago, I got a weird phone call from someone who turned out to be my mother. How she got my number, no idea. She starts telling me my sister lost her job because of everything going on as she worked as a waitress and tells me I need to let her move in with me because she has nowhere to go. To be clear, I was only asked about my sister, no mention of a husband or kids. I, of course, immediately reject this proposal and tell her she can let her move back in with her if she wants to help. Tell her not to call me again and block the number. I pretty much forget about that incident during the next few days. My rejection fell on deaf ears, apparently, as yesterday morning, a large white moving van stops literally in my driveway. How they found out where I live? Again, no clue. And I get woken up by someone banging on my door. I open it up, and surprise, surprise, it's a woman I don't recognize, flanked by 2 kids, with an adult man and another kid who were starting to take stuff out of the moving van. She asks for help moving her stuff in, and I tell her she has the wrong house as I have no tenants. Well, she tells me she's my sister, and I had to take her and her family in, as I apparently promised to do. In the background, her husband is literally rapidly hauling furniture and boxes out and putting it down in my front yard. I tell her to get the living F word out of here, and if they're not gone in the next 5 minutes, I'm calling the cops for trespassing, and slam the door. Well, I look out my window, hear some yelling, my sister starts crying, they haul their stuff back in, and off they go. Here's the thing. I didn't expect I would feel bad, but I do. Last I heard, my sister has never done well financially, and she obviously has nowhere to go if she felt the need to come to me, of all people. Meanwhile, I own a large house that I bought for when me and my deceased wife had kids. We never did. She had a car accident last year, and, well, yeah. Got a great job, and I could easily house them and feed them, and it wouldn't even make that big of a dent in my finances. Edit. Why I did not recognize her? I was woken up by the knocking on my door. My vision's pretty blurry when I just wake up, and I figure I would have eventually recognized her given enough time. That said, from memory, my sister was always physically fit, healthy-looking, attractive, fashionable, took good care of herself, used makeup, did her hair all fancy. Just in general, she looked nice. Yet it seems like the past 7 years took a big toll on her, as it seems she's aged 20 years in the past 7 years. She looked unhealthy, tired, gained a considerable amount of weight, sickly looking. Looks like she doesn't take care of her appearance, messy hair, sloppy clothes. Not to talk down on her, but to give an explanation. Like I said, she looked considerably different from what I remember. And our last story. The police wants us to follow the rules? They can do it too. Voluntary Fire Brigade Station, small town in Germany. The station was near a street, and you couldn't back up in the garage without blocking off the street, because maneuvering in front of the station was nearly impossible. A firefighter was blocking the street for traffic when a driver in a Mercedes came along. He braked at first, but then accelerated and forced the firefighter to jump out of his way to save his life, or at least his bones. They went to the police and sued that driver. What they didn't know, the driver was the police chief of a station nearby and sued the fire brigade himself. The fire brigade isn't allowed to block the street, only the police are. The case went on and on till the brigade chief had an idea. If only the police are allowed to block the street, then they can do it from now on. Every time a truck leaves or arrives at the station, the police were called. Cleaning the trucks, police. Fueling up, police. Training, police. Joyriding, police. More joyriding. You know it. The local station had to get 2 more officers from other stations to handle the volume of the requests until the other chief was persuaded or threatened to take back his accusations. Since that day, no one ever complained about blocking the street while backing up, and the relationship between police and fire brigade is normalized again. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.